Hi class, so for all critiques, we've been using Adobe Bridge. You see that right here, you see Adobe Bridge right here. And if I go through here, this is your Adobe Bridge symbol. And that has been a good way for us to look through a lot of images. Adobe Bridge doesn't force you to import images. You can just browse through images. So it's a great way to go through a lot of images quickly. But you have in 108 been exposed to histograms. So we're going to move the critiques from Adobe Bridge, which is pretty simple here, to Adobe Lightroom. So as you can see in Adobe Bridge, you guys are all familiar with this, your metadata is over here on the right-hand side. Now as we move to Adobe Lightroom, the metadata is here on the right-hand side, but now we get the histogram that you learned about in 108. And that's a great way for us to evaluate images. So I'm gonna, from here on out, be evaluating all of your images in Adobe Lightroom. As you know from the contact sheets, you have to import all of your images. So I'll import all of your images, and then we'll look at the metadata over here again. So up here, you'll have your ISO, your focal length, shutter or aperture, shutter speed. And then I keep all of these closed and I go to your metadata and I can see your image name, how it was sized, when it was shot, focal length, exposure bias, which is your exposure compensation, ISO, flash, exposure program, metering mode, and then the camera that you're using. So I have most of the same information. There's a few little variations, but we'll be using Adobe Lightroom so we can utilize the histogram. Adobe Lightroom also allows you to edit images. We don't want to edit any images in this class, but that's the other element that Adobe Lightroom has that Bridge does not have. It has this develop module, and when you're in the develop module, you can edit images. Now, what I'll use the develop module for is to look at your histogram. So as I look at this histogram here, I can see that it runs up to the right side of the edge there. And if I click in the histogram on the develop module, I can show where the highlight clipping is, right? So we can click right there and we see that highlight clipping. This is essential for you to understand about your images. When things have highlight clipping, that means there's no information there. So if she were, it was a she, if Leah was to print this image, we don't have any information in the windows or in these back areas where the red is. In the same way, if we have a dark image, let's see, maybe this image, you might have areas that are blocked up, and those will show up as dark blue in the image when I click on the histogram on the shadow clipping. So shadow clipping over here, highlight clipping on this side. And like I've talked about, highlight clipping is really hard on our eyes. We don't understand that. That's not how we see the normal world. So if I walk outside right now, it's really bright outside. My house is white. So my eyes are gonna see that overexposure like we see in this image here, but then they're going to quickly adjust. So my eyes will always adjust to the highlights, except for little specular highlights, right? But if I go into a dark room after I come in from the outside, my eyes might never adjust to see those dark shadows that are under the couch or under the bed or under a table or something, right? So we're more accepting of shadow clipping than we are of highlight clipping. And that's really key for you guys to understand. So I'll be using Lightroom for all critiques moving forward. We have all of the metadata along with a histogram on the right-hand side here. Sometimes I'll flip back to Adobe Bridge because I might want to know what your white balance was, and we don't need all of this information. And your white balance is listed here. So if an image looks off on color, this image doesn't, but I might come back and look at your white balance. So that's why I keep them both open. All right, let me know if you have questions about this and I'll go ahead and get into your critiques.